Agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
Good afternoon for some and good evening for others. This is Tempo Afrique TV for Africans, for people of African descent, and for friends of Africa around the globe. Welcome to our weekly show, What's Up Africa? Que fait l'Afrique? I'm Prof. Desiree Balubi, linguist and communication specialist at Norfolk State University in Virginia, USA. Our topic today is the English version of last week's program. What's Up Africa? 9 months already. But before we begin, let me wish all of you a Happy New Year 2022. Happy holidays to all of you around the globe, all our viewers. Thank you for being so faithful, not just to Tempo Afrique TV, but to this show called What's Up Africa? Que fait l'Afrique? From the inaugural show on March 18, that's when it all started, we had a great time together for almost 40 weeks, trying to discover what Africa is really up to. Ladies and gentlemen, the topics we've covered include animal husbandry, politics, Pan-Africanism, health, technology, energy, infrastructure, economy, and the list is long. But what do we do with all of that? What lesson have we learned? What are we looking for? We're trying to find out what Africa is doing so that Africa can be back again. We want Africa to be back on its feet. Opinions are divided. Some people believe whatever they're doing, it's not working, and they're being pessimistic, or at least empathetic. And one of those people is a young man called Giulio Kuchova. Not in desperation, but in solitude, he wrote a poem called I'm Crying for Africa. Giulio, thank you for putting this poem together. And it goes like this. I'm crying for Africa. She was distraught. How could a man, just one man, show bestiality up to that extent? I thought for a moment that for him, no light could shine, but light of ferocity and inhumanity. I approached her, shaken. She had just been shamelessly condemned. What she felt was beyond grudge. Her eyes clouded with tears. What else can one do but to console his soul? Our world is depressed like a merciless wolf, crowded with darkness and arrogance. Excessive cruelty has become a sentence. Colonial anger, this angry tenacity that the 18th and 19th centuries remind us of, where our ancestors drank and bathed in the sun and day and night. What have we done to free our pedestal plains? The black race is suffering from enormous blunders. The storm squalls are shaking Africa so much do not seem to end anymore. The solar eclipse is hitting the African people hard. Violence, hatred, revenge, wickedness are the real attributes of those citizens. When will the serene spirit sink in? However, from their mouths is constantly proclaimed patriotism, destroyed fraternal impulses, dissipated joys, award-winning sufferings. Thank you, Julio. But our youth and our people are resilient. They will not give in and they will not give up. They are bracing themselves against all odds to fend for themselves, as you can see in the next three pictures. Then March 25, we discussed Pan-African vision of modern times, concrete actions on the ground. This was presented by our guest, Moise Chando Kerekou, on April the 1st. Not April's Fool, it was real. We had Dr. Michel Babajude presenting or discussing this topic, the Peasant's House Project, a development model for Africa's new hope. April 8th, the topic was From America Back to Africa, African American experience and contribution to education in Africa. Our guest was Dr. Lee Monroe, Vice President for Academic Affairs at Vibranium Learning Incorporated. And April 15, the topic was African medical doctors abroad and at home, innovation strategies and health education for a thriving continent. We need doctors. We always need them, don't we? Not just during the COVID pandemic time, but all the time. So Dr. Francis Chukwukwando was gracious enough to accept our invitation to present to discuss this topic. Dr. Chukwukwando is a pediatrician and family physician. After Emma was on April 22nd, the topic was breast and community development in Africa, concrete actions, success stories, and challenges to meet. And our guest was Mr. Lucien Huidano, journalist, a senior communication expert living in Cote d'Ivoire. Thank you, Lucien Huidano. April 29, the topic was Let's Go to School in Our National Languages, Bekun Beninese Invention, presented by Mr. Nunayon Sedolo Gbenupo. He's a mechanical engineering technician. So you see, it doesn't matter what your profession is, you got to express yourself in our national languages, in your own culture, because no nation can ever develop, can never prosper, can never be happy in someone else's culture. Thank you, Nunayon Sedolo. May 6th, it was Practice, Education and Health Policy in Africa, presented by Professor Jijoho Adewale Padunu, who's a doctor of medicine and hospital surgeon. May 13, Education and Environment, presented by some of our youth, Osa Balubi and Jacob Dabim, respectively computer engineer and lawyer in human rights and fundamental social rights. May 20th, Public Health with Dr. Giambattista Priuli, also known as Frère Florent at the Saint Jean de Dieu Hospital in Tonguetai, Benin, West Africa. May 27 was about technology, business, and partnership for economic development in Africa, a mission in progress that was brilliantly presented by our own brother Antonio Dixon, SolarFi CEO, award-winning entrepreneur, innovator, and political strategist. June the 3rd, mastery and rehabilitation of language and culture in the Dacha linguistic space in Benin, West Africa. And we had three guests, Mr. Thomas Akpao, journalist at Canal Torah in Benin, Mr. Moise Magode, who's a teacher and a PhD candidate in modern languages, and the third one, Mr. Prosper Noide, consultant in translation of religious text. They did a marvelous job. Thank you, folks. June 10th was Life of a Servant and His Career in Law, a model for the African youth. Guess who that was? The presenter was Attorney Robert Servet Marcelin Dosu, expert consultant for the United Nations, the African Union, the ECOWAS, the AU, for so many international institutions. Thank you, Attorney Robert Dosu from Benin. June 17, the legendary Republic of Ghana, from the agony of defeat to the thrill of success. And if you know what that country, what this topic is talking about, well, you guess right if you think it is Ghana. Yes, definitely. The legendary Republic of Ghana, from the agony of defeat to the thrill of success. And if you know the history of that country, after the first president, late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that country started sinking in, and they were just fighting for survival. That's why the title says, from the agony of defeat to the thrill of success. When J.J. Rawlings, the late J.J. Rawlings, seized power and did his best. And that was like Ghana's Renaissance. And the topic was presented by Nakoti Hervey, a graduate of the University of Ghana, Lagos, my alma mater. That's where I started my higher education. And he is assistant professor at St. Augustine's University in Raleigh, North Carolina, USA. June 24th was a model language center at historic University of Fort Hare in South Africa, presented by two brilliant scholars, Dr. Godfrey Bulindlela Mona, PhD in isiXhosa literature. Can you believe it? PhD in isiXhosa literature. That's what I'm talking about. Reviving, revitalizing, rehabilitating our languages and cultures. Was also co-presented by Dr. Tozama April Maduma, PhD in history, from the same University of Fort Hare in South Africa. Then came July 1st, when we discussed serving African peoples, the undeniable facts that stimulate progress in Benin, presented by Mr. Wilfred Leandre Ngbeji, Vice Secretary General and spokesperson for the government of the Republic of Benin. And a week later, July 8th, the topic looking at those tangible facts and then the contribution for sustainable progress was discussed and presented by Mr. Jomaiha Kodo, who actually gave counterexamples and at the same time congratulated the government for those tangible facts, for the progress they've made. But he believed that they could do more. Of course, there's always room for improvement. And Mr. Jomaiha Kodo, mining engineer, representative of the Sovereign Front, as a member of the Beninese diaspora in Paris. July 15, ladies and gentlemen, it was about education without borders, serving Africa and America. And this was presented by Sia Barbara Ferguson Kamara, Chief Strategy Officer of the DC Early Learning Collaborative. She was great. She's doing wonderful work, not just in the US, but also in Liberia. July 22nd, preventive medicine and community health, educating the people in Africa, was presented to us by Dr. Stéphane Abel-Toon, specialist in community health and epidemiology. He's a researcher and international consultant. He's a former World Health Organization official. July 29, Honorable Akenatonde's biography, Wealth of Lessons to Learn. Honorable Akenatonde is a member of Parliament in the National Assembly of in Benin, in West Africa. And this autobiography was translated from French to English by Prof. Thomas Wesu Adin, Africologist, communication specialist, and translator. And he introduced us to the content of the book and told us a lot about Honorable Akenatonde's achievements. Thank you, Honorable Akenatonde. We need you. August 5th, African Wisdom and Cultural Values Among the Dasha in Benin. This was presented by Maurice Magonde. We already mentioned his name. He came for the second time as a PhD candidate and artist. And it's a teacher at the Catholic high school called Père Planck in Cotonou, Benin. Then August 12, the topic was Aizos and Royalty in Contemporary Africa, Wealth of Heritage Without Borders. That's when we started investigating, trying to figure out what kingdoms, what royalty really means and what that can do for Africa in modern times. And we found out that it was a wealth of heritage that could go beyond Africa, beyond the continental borders, all over the world. And this was presented by His Majesty Dada Ajahuto Dodo II, his world emperor of the Azores all over the world. The first country you can think of when we're talking about the Azores, Haiti, and the city of Alada in Benin. Thank you, His Majesty. August 19, two queens that he coronated, and that was His Majesty Dada Ajahuto. They came and presented to us what the queens, royalty, could do for Africa in these modern times. And the two queens of the diaspora, the title of the show that day, the topic was Two Queens of the Diaspora, Positioning Africa in a Global Perspective. This was presented by Queen Tassia Aji, Marie-Ange Bilot-Thiébaut of the State of the African Diaspora. She's Minister of History Legacy, and also by Queen Wendokon Keturamoko, a Pan-African activist. She's also part of the State of the African Diaspora. Actually, she is the Vice Prime Minister and also Minister of Repatriation and Reparations. Ladies and gentlemen, then on August 26th, it was about transportation in Africa. And the topic was, after Air Afrique, the hope of air transportation business in Africa is still alive. That's what Mr. Guy Kojia proved and explained to us, that we should keep our hope alive. Yes, Air Afrique is gone, but you'd never say die. So Mr. Guy Kojia, Air Transportation Specialist, former representative of Air Afrique in Congo. He was in Kenya and in Nigeria as well. Thank you, Guy Kojia, for telling us that the last thing we want to lose is hope when it comes to transportation in Africa. September 2nd, Developing Africa Beyond Arbitrary Borders. This was presented by Dr. Louis George Tin, Senior Lecturer and also Prime Minister of the State of the African Diaspora. Oh, thank you. Such a wonderful man. Such a wonderful man. And September 9, the topic was faith and work to transform the lives of citizens. Every country, every people, all of Africa. This was presented to us by, guess who? Pastor Edgar Gidibi. As president of the Center Jésus pour Réussir Church and president of Global Service Plus Foundation in Benin. September 16, Health, Education, Indigenous Knowledge and Entrepreneurship in Africa, presented by our own Prof. Valentin Achidi Agon. Professor Valentin Achidi Agon is well known as a medical doctor, researcher, and entrepreneur, inventor, and he's the inventor of Apivirine. Apivirine. Yeah, let me say it again. Apivirine. You heard it right. This has been a doctoral, it has been researched, and a doctorate candidate successfully defended it as a subject of his doctoral dissertation in Burkina Faso this very month. Congratulations to you, Dr. Agon Valentin. And congratulations to the PhD candidate who certainly is now Dr. somebody. And September 23rd, the African Diaspora State Diplomatic Corps, Vision and Mission, presented by Mr. Heribert Labelle Elysée Ajovi, who is ambassador of the State of the African Diaspora. Is also president of the Pan-African Caucus of Journalists. Thank you, Mr. Ajovi. You did a wonderful that day, a wonderful job that day, and you continue doing good things. I see you on other media, and you are doing great. We're proud of you, Ajovi. September 3rd, quality education, a human right, not a privilege. This was discussed, presented to us by, he liked to call himself teacher, not Mr. So teacher Peter Okwari is director of Teachers in Need. That's an organization he has founded, and the founder of Teachers TV Africa in Uganda. He is one of the recipients of those scholarship, the Yali Scholarship, Young African Leaders Initiative Scholarship, but because of COVID, he did it remotely, but he benefited, he told us, he benefited tremendously from it, and that's how I met him, actually. So thank you, teacher Peter Okwari. Keep up the good work. October 7th, we discussed security, defense, and democracy. What's Africa's status? We discussed this with Dr. Juste Kodjo, a professor of international security at New Jersey City University. He's the one who invented, the term consensus, they called it. It means democracy by consensus. He has a lot to say about that. If you need his contact, well, I'll give it to you for more details on consensus. October 14th, the Africans of the world, what are you up to? Presented by Mr. Thibaut Obu, president of African du Monde. It's a strategy consultant and organizations expert. October 28th, yes, wonder of wonders. Ojrado glasses, yeah. We intentionally call it Ojrado glasses, the new vision and the Beninese eye of the information and communication technology expert, Mr. Richard Gauthier Ojrado, is the project manager, is a marketing and digital communication consultant. Need his contact, you want to buy his glasses, with his glasses while you're driving, or you can answer your phone without, without any worries of crashing. You're still driving and you're talking on the phone via your glasses. Wonder of wonders, I call it. And November 4th was again the topic of African royalty in modern times. Contributions to Africa's new hope. How can the king, the traditional chiefs, how can they help? What can they contribute to the fight, the struggle, the quest for sovereignty, for development, for the new hope, for the renaissance of Africa? This was presented convincingly to us by His Majesty Jean-Gervais Chifizier, Secretary General of the Forum of Traditional Sovereign Chiefs of Africa, and also by his peer, His Majesty Juma Musa, Minister of Relations with Institutions at the Royal Palace of Agon. And November 11, it was about technology. Computing for development in Africa was the topic, and this was presented by Mr. Francois Xavier Atadeji. He's a computer engineer, CEO of the Yavido social network. Yavido works like Facebook, and he invented it, and it's growing. Please join the Yavido social network. Thank you, and keep up the good work, Mr. Atadeji. November 18, Africa of Tomorrow, the big stakes. The big stakes, the big challenges. And this was presented by a group of friends and schoolmates. Mr. Joseph Suruatin, former executive of the World Bank, and also worked for the Bank of African Development, and Minister of Public Works in Benin. They're also presented by Mr. Guy Kojia, again, air transportation specialist, and his aeropolitics trainer, and Mr. Laurent Asogba is the third person on the team. Laurent Asogba is an economist, a demographer, and former United Nations officer. Thank you, Joseph Fatin. Thank you, Guy Kojia, and thank you, Laurent Asogba. November 25, contributions of Islam to development in Africa. Yes, you heard that right. Contributions of Islam to development in Africa. The case of Benin. This was presented by a group of 3 imams, and really activists in terms of their religion and civic engagement, patriotism, and contributing to peace, to national unity, and to economic, social, and political development, not just in Benin, but in Africa in general. They were Imam Mutawakilu, Doctor of Islamic Law, Cambridge University; Imam Harisu, Master of Arts, Advisor of the Islamic Club for Development; and the last but not least, Imam Tijani, Doctor of Economics, and is also a civil administrator. Then December, yes, the last month of the year, on the 2nd day of December, it was about Sciences of Good or Flowers of Evil, a new vision for development in Africa. This is about indigenous knowledge, traditional values, as I said earlier, you cannot develop, no nation can develop in foreign culture, speaking foreign languages only and not being able to know who you are, to use your own language, to use your ancestors' knowledge that actually benefited the people and benefited the people for so long until colonization happened, and Africans and whatever they had was treated as evil and as primitive, and people were forced into you know, in the forest, ran into the forest, went into hiding, and it became a secret. It's all secrecy, and they could not share their knowledge anymore. But His Majesty Dada Juma Musso, a minister responsible for the promotion of culture and indigenous values, discussed that, and he said, "I must come back." And he has already been working on it, and he has been innovating and inventing medicine, traditional medicine, for the treatment of important and critical diseases. Thank you, Majesty Juma Musso. Please keep up the good work. And December 9, Global Education in the 21st Century, the State of the African Diaspora's Unique Initiative. Dr. Louis George Tin, Prime Minister of the State of the African Diaspora, and his government, that came up with this wonderful idea, this unique idea to create a university for global education, university without borders. And anybody who meets the entry-level requirement, admissions requirement, could attend. This wonderful, wonderful idea. So for details, please go to their website as the State of the African Diaspora's website, or I'll give you information so that you can go and get more details from either the Minister of Education, Vimbai, which Chiswuswa. I'm sorry, I'm just mispronouncing it, but Dr. Louis George Tin is also the person to go to. Thank you for that wonderful idea. So the Minister of Education is Vimbai Chiwuswa, Minister of Education of the State of the African Diaspora, SOAD. December 16, we had an interview with the Dean of the College of the Indian Ocean Sciences of that university. So the topic was the College of the Indian Ocean Sciences, what ingeniousness. So this was discussed, presented by Dr. Lawrence Busno. Dr. Lawrence Busno did a fantastic job introducing us to that college and what the mission and what the vision are and what kind of faculty in terms of instructors they can have. What's the profile of their prototypical students, what resources they have, and how they will support and sustain that kind of education, even if it's done remotely in that college. Wonderful college, because as she claimed, the Indian Ocean region has been very little studied. So it's time that we got involved in research and in learning about that region of the world. Yes, you got it right. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Africa, the cradle of humanity, is reassuring us of a great comeback, no doubt about it. And this will happen, is happening throughout Africa. Yes, we do have our turmoil here and there, we do have our crisis here and there, but that is inherent. That is part and parcel of every nation's lives. It's not just uniquely African. So look at the picture. Look at this picture. This African woman's picture. She's telling us, she's reassuring us that Africa is coming back. And she's trying to convince us, is to tell us that we got to keep working at it. And that as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Because in the beginning, Africa was the cradle of humanity. And yes, David Diop's Africa is also telling us that we can get back on our feet, that Africa can get back on her feet to bathe in the sun, and the sun day and night again. Yes, David Diop's Africa is getting back on her feet. Look at that picture, how wonderful it is. And this is happening right now, in spite of all the troubles that we have, in spite of all the ordeal we're going through. We shall never give in. We shall never give up. We shall never surrender. You see, we are pulling it back, and we'll pull it off. Definitely. Yes. And this is what David Diop had to say. He wrote that beautiful poem. And here goes the poem. Africa, my Africa. Africa of proud warriors in ancestral savannas. Africa of whom my grandmother sings on the banks of the distant river. Have never known you. But your body and your blood of your sweat. Your body, your blood flows in my veins. Your beautiful black blood that irrigates the fields. The blood of your sweat, the sweat of your work, the work of your slavery. Africa, tell me, Africa, is this your back that is unbent? This back that never breaks under the weight of humiliation? This back trembling with red scars and saying no to the whip under the midday sun? But a grave voice answers me, impetuous child, that tree, young and strong, that tree over there, standing splendidly alone amidst white and faded flowers. That is Africa springing up anew, springing up patiently, obstinately, whose fruit, bit by bit, acquires the bitter taste of liberty. If we may borrow Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, let's sing in unison again. Free at last. Yes, we're free at last. Now to everyone, Malik, our producer, and I together humbly wish good night and a happy new year 2022 to each and every one of you. May God bless you. May God bless Temple Africa TV. May God bless all the journalists of Temple Africa TV. May God help us continue with the strength that we need, with the courage that we need, with the hope that we need. Keep fighting for Africa to be free at last, to prosper and become world power, because we'll be united once for all. Thank you and good night.
C'est encore Yves Kenao, c'est toujours Yves Kenao qui revient. Cette fois-ci, pour vous dire que Tempo Afrique TV vous offre plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision. Les chaînes européennes, les chaînes américaines, les chaînes asiatiques, les chaînes africaines. À un prix imbattable. À un prix imbattable. Tenez-vous bien. $185 pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Alors, où est-ce que vous pouvez trouver mieux que ça si ce n'est pas sur Tempo Afrique TV? Mesdames, Messieurs, appelez seulement le 612 804 02 95 et vous serez servi. Vous serez agréablement surpris de voir plus de 4000 chaînes de télévision rouler sur votre écran comme ça et vous choisissez laquelle vous voulez. Alors mesdames, n'hésitez pas. N'hésitez surtout pas et ne faites pas compter. Prenez votre téléphone, prenez le tout de suite et appelez le 612, le 804, le 02 95. Nous sommes là, ici à Tempo TV, pour rendre votre vie simple et agréable. Alors, saisissez l'occasion donc. $185 pour toute une année, pour 12 mois, inclus le box. Quoi de mieux que ça?
Du nouveau à Minneapolis, Tempo Afrique Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
My whole life, my father told me stories about moving to the United States. He would tell me that his brother, my Uncle George, was already living here and let my father stay with him for a while. Through my Uncle George, my father was introduced to our cultural organization here in America, who helped him make connections, apply for college, find his first job, and adjust to life in a completely different culture than he was used to. The Cultural Association helped him get started on his new life. My Uncle George would bring my father with him to the annual Summer Cultural Groups Festival, and later, he would bring me. It was incredible to see so many people of all ages